and welcome to An Hour with the Candidates on LPTV, Libertarian Party Television, a production of the Libertarian Party. Dan Fishman, Executive Director. My name is Pat Ford, and I currently serve as the chairman of the Libertarian Party of Rhode Island. As always, we have a few purposes for this show. It's an opportunity for the libertarian community to meet our wonderful down-ballot candidates. As or most importantly, we give them the opportunity, we challenge them to incorporate what I always refer to as lunch pail issues and to look at them through a libertarian perspective. What's on the minds of the voters? And especially important to the Libertarian Party now more so than ever. It gives us an opportunity to meet candidates from around the country, understand the issues that we share, the issues that challenge different affiliates, and hopefully provide a connection between libertarians in Maine and Massachusetts, or where I'm from in Rhode Island, and libertarians in this case and tonight from Hawaii, California, Texas. Understanding that fundamentally, where and whenever libertarians are running for office, whether it be the presidency of these United States, or whether it be town council, a small town in Tennessee, or state representative in Hawaii, that these candidates are as fundamentally important to our mission, to our philosophy, to our cause, and of course to our party, as the candidates running in our hometown and our affiliates, and hopefully create a bond so that we all support each other both financially and spiritually. Tonight we go as westward as we can in these United States, I think. Joining us for the first time is Feena Bonoan. She is a candidate for District 20, the great state of Hawaii. Feena, welcome to An Hour with the Candidates.
Aloha, welcome. Oh, well, thank you for having me. And welcome to Hawaii time. It is noon here, sun's out and bright, and I guess it's the evening over there.
It is. And so where are you in geographically in terms of the islands themselves? How central, how far, how west? Many of us have never been there.
I'm located on the island of Oahu, which is the same island as Honolulu and Waikiki. So that island is, if you're looking at the island chain, it's, okay, so we've got the big island down here, and then you have Kauai, and then the next island is Oahu, and that's the island most people fly into from elsewhere.
All right, so as that wise and wonderful 1960s era philosopher Steve McGarrett would say, you are on the Big Isle?
No, I'm not on the Big Island.
Oh, okay. All right. For most of us, quite frankly, 5-0 was our our fundamental understanding of Hawaii. Well, let's start from the beginning, because it's one thing that's universal is that libertarian candidates represent really a true devotion to the philosophy and the cause. I'll always tell folks that I believe one of the great moments of patriotism is when somebody decides to run for a public office. The degree of sacrifice, the intrusions into their personal life, the sheer amount of time and very often personal capital that they'll invest, it can be staggering. And so, as always, we salute you. But what was that moment in your life? We always ask this. What was that libertarian moment when that light bulb went off, when you had that epiphany that brought you into the libertarian movement?
Are we talking about the libertarian movement or my decision to run for candidacy?
Let's talk about the movement first. What the philosophy? When did that? What was that moment?
Well, I was born and raised a libertarian. My uncle, he worked for the Libertarian Party out in North Carolina, and he was a big influence on my political beliefs. We sat around the table and we discussed the news of the day. We talked about philosophies, and we talked about even like abstract ideas like war and borders and these things that are different about the Libertarian Party than from the other parties. So I've always been a libertarian.
What was there one particular issue that really struck your intellectual curiosity?
No. I love all the issues. All of them are different. Because it's to me, it's taking kind of like the extreme sides that everyone takes on both the Republican side and the Democrat side, and you bring them together. So you have like the right to bear arms paired with open borders. You have people that, and even in our Libertarian Party now, we're still talking about pro-life or pro-choice, but even that that in itself, how we've worded it, I've really liked that. We've always been pro-gay rights, and marriage is between two consensual adults. Of course, I like the whole no victim, no crime. I've always been a big cannabis supporter. My family, they supported it too. So
the term Maui Wowie does still come to mind if you're of a certain age. I'll just leave it at that. And again, part of the fun of this show is getting to understand the local community, the local district, or the state or municipality that the candidate is running in. Tell us about District 20, its economy, its people, its history.
Okay. Well, District 20 has Kapolei in it. And Kapolei is supposed to be Hawaii's second city. Hawaii's first city is Honolulu. That's the big city of Hawaii. And there wasn't a whole lot of planning that went on. I mean, there was planning, but it wasn't like long-term planning, like big infrastructure planning. It was more of like, oh my gosh, we got to build up a town, right? And in Kapolei, they're planning it. They're planning where the roads are going to be. They're planning for future buildings and being able to develop it. So that's where I'm representing is Kapolei, but also Makakilo, which is the like residential area above it, a little bit of Eva. So it's kind of like a spread out suburbia. But Kapolei is supposed to be Hawaii's second city. And right now we have a couple shopping centers. It's starting. We have a rail that is kind of famous in the federal courts, not in a good way, and that it's being audited, it's being investigated because it is way over budget. And even the whole idea of the rail, regardless of whether you're for it or against it, I think most people can understand that they kind of built it in a way that wouldn't be economical. They should have started over in town and built it out to the west side, but instead they started on the west side, building it out. And that's a lot on people's minds. And so now that it's almost finished, but now we're in this COVID-19 situation. That's on a lot of people's minds. There's a lot of people that are still scared of it, and sure, be scared of it. But Hawaii's been very lucky. We took very drastic measures early even before it all went down in March. Hawaii in January in Chinatown, where I went to college, they were wearing face masks. We were doing voluntary social distancing and things like that. So that was already happening. It got a little, I think in my opinion for sure, and definitely in some other people's opinion, it got a little over controlled. They were citing people for going to the beach. There were surfers getting tickets, getting arrested for going out and surfing. I mean, you can't be further away from someone else than being out in the ocean on a surfboard. And I think that rubbed people the wrong way, just how much abuse of authority I think went on. So the rail, the second city development, and the COVID-19 issues that are around that, and definitely in getting the economy back up, because we're a tourist state. And so our hotels are closed. They're being renovated. There's not a lot of flights because there's a mandatory 14-day quarantine when you return. Even in Inner Island, they had that. So if I was on the Big Island and I wanted to come to Oahu, I would have had to quarantine in Oahu for 14 days. And then when I go back to Big Island, I would have to quarantine again there for 14 days. I mean, when would it stop?
Right. Now, Hawaiian government, sadly, is infamous amongst a handful of states in America for high taxes. And let's just talk about the bureaucracy in terms of how it delivers goods and services to folks. Two things struck me, and I'm a newspaper junkie. I read a lot of newspapers, but simultaneously this week, news broke that Hawaii lawmakers increased public workers' salaries, but somewhere along the lines of $150 million, and we're looking right into the teeth of an historic economic collapse. At the same time that Hawaii unemployment officials, if you will, from the unemployment fund, were having essentially a collective nervous breakdown in their ability, despite being 4 or 5 months into this crisis, to deliver fundamental unemployment benefits, which, of course, if you're a libertarian, we recognize are often paid by the employer and an employee contribution. What are folks thinking? You know, at the same time, Hawaii traditionally, at least from an outsider's perspective, is a very blue state. What are folks thinking locally? Is there any sense of outrage over this sort of chaos that hovers over Hawaiian government?
Hawaii's had an unfunded liability issue for a while. And I think right now, I think the people are more concerned with like getting the general economy up and the virus out here. They're more concerned about that they're not even paying attention to what some of these lawmakers are passing, because they just went into session last week. That was their first last week. They were trying to push a lot of things all at once. So I'm sure that the people are not exactly thrilled about it, but at the same time, yes, this is a blue state, and they also understand that you have to pay workers.
How much has that been an obstacle then to growing the economy? And I guess my fundamental question as a candidate for public office, how can you try to communicate, again, through a libertarian eye, the central conflict here that not only do you have a lot of government, but it doesn't seem to be very well run and it's very expensive. Do you have any success with that?
So what's the question?
Okay. So in other words, if you take this sort of whirlwind of activities, you've got an inefficient government that's expensive. You're at the same time, you're right. You've got this crisis mentality that's taken over really the whole country. You know, as we exist in this pandemic environment, how do you communicate to folks in your constituency, in your district, exactly how inefficient and how many of the problems are being heightened, exacerbated because of grotesquely inefficient government? And are people even willing to listen to that right now?
I think people are willing to listen to it. I think people are listening to it. I'm not the only person that is critiquing the Hawaii government. A lot of our news agencies we have out here, they're critiquing them as well. And the people are listening, but at the same time, it's not November yet. And I think in Hawaii, a lot of people are ready for a change. There's even another political party that just sprung up out here that a lot of people are kind of gravitating to as well. So I think out here in Hawaii, for it to have been such a traditionally blue state, such a traditionally Democrat state with one voice, one vote, everyone pandering to that idea, that policy, that of that one party, right? I think people here know that it's time for a change. And I think right now, like 2020, this year, is that time.
Tell us just a little bit about the Aloha Aina Party and what they represent and who they appeal to.
Well, I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. They are a new party. They're new this year. I've met a few people from it. They're a sovereignty movement-based party. If you know anything about Hawaii, Hawaii's annexation, how it became a state, you know in the history books that it was an unjust act. And recently with the Mauna Kea protests that we've had here in Hawaii, I think that the people are probably ready for a different conversation than what we've been having on how Hawaii became a state. And in this time in America, where we're taking, as Americans, we're taking responsibility for some of our actions. I think that people are wanting that for Hawaii as well.
So it truly is.
That's essentially what the Aloha Aina that I know of. It's kind of moving towards. But
So it's essentially,
I'm a libertarian, so.
so essentially that same conversation that's taking place nationally about a variety of racial groups and a variety of atrocities and a variety of indignities. Are you saying the same type of conversation is having with what I'll refer to as the indigenous people, the indigenous background of Hawaii?
Absolutely. That conversation out here in Hawaii hasn't stopped since it became a state.
Interesting.
I mean, because it's only been a state for 50. I think this year is going to be 51 years, 50 years. So,
right. In terms of local economy, we think again, and one of the reasons why I looked forward to this conversation was really kind of to puncture or dispel some myths. As mainlanders, if you will, as particularly if you're on the East Coast, you tend to think of Hawaii strictly in terms of, to a little bit to degree, an agricultural economy, but largely a tourism-based economy. Are there other opportunities in your part of Hawaii, or is there any attempt at developing sort of a free market economy where those other industries can be attracted?
well, let me tell you the big economies. Yes, you're right. Tourism, number one economy. Number two is the military and government companies like General Dynamics, things like that, Boeing. And then another economy that you didn't mention is the media economy. A lot of movies get made out here. That's a big economy out here that could grow. And I think an opportunity out here for growth for our economy in Hawaii, especially after this pandemic, would be to decriminalize and allow gaming into Hawaii.
That's interesting. So gaming is still a prohibited activity? That's astonishing.
Very prohibited. Promoting even is prohibited. I couldn't have a casual game at my house among friends. That if we exchanged any money, then that's a felony. So that's kind of. But the strange thing is they call Las Vegas out here in Hawaii the ninth island. And they call it the ninth island because a lot of people go over there to live for better opportunities. And a lot of people go over there to gamble. And those opportunities that they go for to live there are provided because they have that gaming industry. That it's a destination, yes, but they're bringing in extra revenue. And then they're bringing in Hawaii revenue when Hawaii people go over there. And I just think that we could do that out here. We could even have an educational lottery. There's plenty of people that want to have bingo games. Why not? That's what I ask. Why not? Who's it going to hurt?
Well, particularly if it's as in a few limited places in this country, everyone has access to either run a lottery or run a casino. Now, how does that mix with, if you will, the rest of the sin tax economy? Where does cannabis legalization and drug legalization stand?
So cannabis is right now it's medicinal for certain ailments, and in our medicinal, we recently just opened up dispensaries. We were one of the first states to recognize medical marijuana as a medicinal plant, but we've been one of the later states in the whole movement to even get dispensaries open. At the same time, we have this anti-smoking laws that we're enacting, and we don't allow edibles in Hawaii either. So my question now comes to the cannabis and industry and lawmakers that if we don't allow smoking in most areas and within several feet of most areas, and we don't allow the edibles, how are these people supposed to be taking marijuana? How are they supposed to be consuming it? Is it really natural feeling in a pill state? Is that, it kind of feels like it defeats the whole purpose of going natural and going for that cannabis route. Right. So the rest of the drugs, they're illegal too.
Now, is the state fairly restrictive in terms of medical cannabis, in terms of who can use it? For example, where I live in Rhode Island, we had a major breakthrough about a year or so ago when we were allowed, and as the Queen permits, we were allowed then to include and codify PTSD as a reason to be able to get a medical cannabis card? Is PTSD or any of the ancillary supportive challenges faced by folks, is medical cannabis available to them?
Yes, PTSD is covered. It was recently added, I think, in the last 5 years. So that is one of the qualifiers. Other than that, it's mostly pain related ones. Yeah.
Have they decriminalized, I'll call it recreational consumption, or is that still considered a crime?
If you get caught smoking weed on the street, you're just going to get a ticket out here in Hawaii, and I'm cool with that, you know. And I think that most people out here in Hawaii, they don't necessarily want you smoking a joint right outside of Macy's or something. But But to answer your question, it's decriminalized for a certain amount, and I don't know exactly what that amount is because I'm a cannabis user. I mean, I have my medical license, so I don't really follow like how much you can have or how much you can't have if you don't, because it doesn't really pertain to me. But I should look that up, and I probably will.
Second Amendment. How tough is it to get a concealed carry permit in Hawaii, and how overly controlled is the legal use of firearms, the ownership of firearms?
It makes me really sad the way the Second Amendment is out here, and all the restrictions there are to have a gun out here. It's one of the things that I'm a woman, and I was going to school downtown. I would go to school by myself, and the area that I went to school in is kind of dangerous. A lot of people get mugged there. A lot of people, bad things happen there sometimes, you know. And because I have, like I said, I have a medical marijuana license, I'm not allowed to like get a gun, not at all. And I just don't necessarily think that's fair. That's not. What does one have to do with the other? And so yeah, there's a lot of restrictions to get a gun out here in Hawaii, and every year they vote for more restrictions, and it's sad. It's sad. It really is sad. I mean, the way that there was about right before the coronavirus happened, there was a man that had broken into someone else's house, and the owner, you know, they shot him, and there was a question on whether that was appropriate or not.
So stand your ground, even as it sounds to me like an incredibly conflicted. I don't want to say society, because it's a spectacular place. Folks that I've met from Hawaii are just wonderful people. Folks I've met who've gone there rave about it. But on one hand, you have an extreme military presence, but at the same time, you virtually can't own a gun. Number two, you're an island, a chain of islands that is living testament to the beauty of nature. Yet at the same time, you're restricted from using a variety of natural, let's just say, ingredients or enhancements to your life. You've got an overwhelming government for what should be a reasonably sized state that's hopelessly incompetent. It sounds like Hawaii needs you, Feena. We got to put up the little beacon in the sky, Feena, and she's going to come in and bring them to the path of truth and righteousness. Amen. So,
can I say one more thing about the Second Amendment?
Yeah, of course, please.
We talked a little bit about sovereignty, right? Well, out here in Hawaii, one of the reasons why the queen that was out here, Queen Liliuokalani, one of the reasons why she relinquished her title was because all the colonialists, they had guns. They had guns. They were totally outmanned, outgunned. And I think what she did was probably one of the most libertarian things that a leader could do, is she relinquished her title to save her people from violence. And so I think the Second Amendment should have a home out here.
Right.
Really do.
And you are clearly the right person to bring that conversation to the fore. In the age of COVID-19, the coronavirus crisis, we've spoken with people around the country who are having to find innovative ways to campaign. Is you're part of Hawaii? Is it traditionally before COVID the type of campaign that you would engage in door knocking? How would you have conducted the campaign before the plague hit, if you will?
Well, I plan to hit the campaign the same way I was going to do it before. Well, because I'm not the person to necessarily hold babies and things like that. But I still plan on going and knocking on doors and leaving my little door knocker. I mean, like I said before, Hawaii has been very lucky in that we have taken big steps, whether they were appropriate or not. It's not the point. We took big steps, and we don't have the coronavirus here like other places do. And of course, I wear my mask. I'm not necessarily shaking hands with people, but I'm still doing sign waves. I'm still going to go, like I said, walk in the neighborhoods, knocking on doors. This past couple months that we've been, locked up, we've had our little exercise that we were allowed to do. So I've been walking the neighborhoods, saying hello. One thing that I was that's kind of big out here in Hawaii is like car caravans. And so I'm going to get these couple card magnets, and I have a convertible, and my husband has a pickup truck, and we're just going to get a bunch of people in our cars with the signs. And we're going to ride down Hawaii's one main highway. So, that's I guess Corona style. I haven't really picked up too much on the social media posts, but this is a start. We still have months to go. I don't want to oversaturate the media with my presence, so that's kind of the plan.
Excuse me, how receptive has been the local media to third party, I'll say non-democratic, non-Republican, non-duopoly candidates? Have they been supportive? Are you able to get much traction there with them?
Over the years, they haven't been supportive or non-supportive. A lot of times they'll kind of, just put us at the bottom of a long article talking about everybody else, and then right at the bottom they'll talk about us. So there's that, not really appreciating that, but they do invite us to debates that they have. Not all of the debates, but some of them. So I was a media major at HPU where I graduated from. I'm hoping to maybe make some contacts through the media and get some libertarians out there that way. But the media hasn't been, like I said, the media hasn't been either way. They've been very lukewarm, if you will.
And that brings us to another point. You've got a very unique skill set. You are a Renaissance woman. Tell us about your career as a filmmaker.
Okay. Well, my career as a filmmaker. Like I said, I graduated from Hawaii Pacific University this past year, and I made films while I was there. One of them that has been going around on the awards and small film circuit is called The Wall, Anti-Posteriori, and that is a musical satire about military procedural compliance, and it kind of rings really nice with the whole COVID-19 thing. And I have a couple of short horror films that I've done, and I've written a screenplay. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
So do you plan on using some of those communication skills for the campaign? Can we expect to see a Feena Bonoan campaign commercial?
Oh yeah, I have one on my Facebook already. I've been putting them out. So I have one on my website, and then on my website I also have another link to my media content website that has a couple of making of the videos, little things that I've done. But do expect more libertarian content coming out commercial wise. I worked on door knockers this past weekend, and business cards, just making sure we've gotten the right message out. And yeah.
What do you think your single biggest challenge is as a candidate right now, midsummer, early summer? And what do you think is going to be your biggest challenge moving forward as you get closer to the election?
I need volunteers. I need consistent volunteers. I need people to show up for sign waves. That's what I need. I just need some more volunteers. That's going to be my biggest challenge because, like I said before, a lot of people are still scared about the virus. And even the whole idea of like, all right, let me get 4 or 5 people in my car, even though like the top's down and everything, they're still scared, you know?
Right.
Yeah, that's the hardest part is, you know, I'm not going to be able to go out and just meet the general public shaking hands. This is a new challenge here. And so, yeah, that's the hard part. Volunteers and shaking hands.
Right. The is there a debate in the near future coming up?
I haven't gotten any invitations for a debate yet.
All right. You've got to be sure to let us know if, in fact, anyone presents an obstacle or a barrier to your participation in debate. We've got a lot of very good people who are very good on the phone at, let's just say, getting folks to potentially reconsider their positions on that.
Yeah, I'm sure if there was a debate, I'd be included. There's only one other candidate, so he's got to debate himself.
So you're in a 2-candidate race. You very much got the opportunity to win this. The other candidate is a Democrat?
Yes, he's a Democrat. He's been there for quite some time. He's Tulsi Gabbard's dad. And
wow.
Yeah. He used to be a Republican. Now he's a Democrat. And out here, there's, plenty of people that when you've been in office for a long time like that, there's plenty of people ready for change. And that's what I'm going to say.
Excellent. Well, this is the part of the show we refer to as shameless self-promotion. So if you can, and we've been providing links throughout the show to your social media, but give folks an opportunity to understand, number one, where they can find you on social media, particularly your film work and your commercial work, and as well, how they can volunteer, and should they be in a position, and we say this carefully because the challenge for libertarians, obviously, is that the need is great, and there are many folks who are also running their own campaigns. So we understand that there's a challenge to donating to campaigns. I will say this, though, much like some of our left of center opponents at the national level have found, that many, many small donations go a long way, both financially and spiritually. Reaching out to campaigns like Feena's, with even if you can just donate a few dollars, it sends a message. It sends, number one, you care, you're aware of her campaign, you're supporting your campaign, you're with her. And those few dollars, a few dollars here and there in the aggregate really add up. It could be that extra commercial. It could be that extra flyer, that extra door hanger. Quite frankly, in a digital age, it might be that one extra set of Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever digital ad campaign that she can run on a particular issue. And the importance here, and this is so critical, when you look at a state like Hawaii or a state like where I live, Rhode Island, which is so statist, so mired in its own failed government, that not only are we running for the office, but we're planting seeds in minds that have never been exposed to the type of the movement, the philosophy that someone like Feena on the ground can do such a wonderful job of explaining. So you're not just supporting a candidate, you're amplifying a movement. We need to understand that candidates around the country are representative of perhaps something brand new in a whole lot of people's lives. And to the degree with which we can give them support means only greater things for our national candidates and greater things for our movement going forward. So, Feena, just give us the whole lowdown. Where can folks find you?
First of all, I gotta say, you're right. And sharing is caring. Like, share, comment. That is a lot because that instills voter confidence. That tells people that, yeah, I believe in her. This is someone that you can get behind, right? Even if you can't send dollars, like, share, comment, right? So I'm on Facebook, Feena Bonoan. I'm on Facebook as a friend. I'm on Facebook as a page. I also have a website, which is right down at the bottom, FeenaForDistrict20.com. And through that, there's also Feena.website, which there's a link for that on the Feena for District or FeenaForDistrict20.com too.
Excellent. Well, Feena, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to have a little bit of a lineup change tonight, but we're going to bring you back in just a little bit to share comments and concerns with another guest. Folks, Joey Dasinger had some technical problems, line issues, communication issues. It's the beauty of independent media is the fact that in one way we can be so flexible and bring in guests from literally around the country. In a very intimate, highly charged setting. On the same token, independent media can be interesting from a technical standpoint. So we're going to try and get Joey in next week, depending on what's going on with the greater world, and see if we can get him a setup that'll work. We're going to bring in, I believe, an alumni of the program for the first time. He's back. Pat Dixon, welcome back, and give folks a primer to your campaign, what you're running for, and just how things are going.
Well, as you can tell, I got my baseball hat on because I was in the bullpen warming up. So Dan said I need a relief pitcher, so I'm in. I'm happy to be on the show again.
No, wait a minute. Since Texas is involved, one of the great baseball movies of all time, of course, is The Rookie. So I know you have a lot of experience, but are you the rookie right now?
Well, no, I wouldn't say I'm the rookie after this is my 5th campaign and I've won a couple, so I wouldn't say I'm a rookie. But what I really want to do, this is very opportunistic. I'm really glad I saw Dan's message because I'm in a special election July 14th, right, and this early voting starts Monday. But what has just recently happened is a media company has contacted me and they are ready to go with social media effort. This is a company that elected a city council member up in Arlington who was in a 5-way race, and it didn't require a runoff. This media company got her elected and is very similar to my situation. I'm in a 6-way race. So right now, the only thing I need is money. That's it. If I get the money I need to get this media company going, then right now, when early voting is started, we will be out there hitting people. So what I'm going to ask people to do is there are 2 websites I'm going to mention. One is called positivelypat.com. That is this new website, or actually .org. I'm sorry, positivelypat.org. If you go there, you're going to see the video they've already produced for me, so you can see what they have in mind, and you can make donations there. But I still have my original website, logic14.org, and there it is. Yes, that's positivelypat.org. So if you go there, you will see their first video they put together. If we get enough money, they can reach out. And yeah, those are the videos that are there right now. And one of those is the one they produced.
Is it this one right here? Right now? You want me to show it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Bring it up.
All right, hang on just a sec.
It's that last one, I think.
All right. I'm not sure that the audio will be good, but let me try it. Let's see.
Remember the 1980s? We did things differently back then. We did everything different. Now, everything has changed. Technology has leapfrogged us into a new age, and everything is changing, except the way we do elections. We're still doing the same old thing. Send a mailer that goes in.
Excellent. So, do you have a goal? Are we back here? Do you have a goal that you're putting out there?
Yeah, what I need right now to reach 2,500 to get going, and I'm about 20% of the way there. Okay. So once I get 2,500 for this project, I can tell them, let's go.
Okay.
And if I get more than that, they can scale this thing up.
All right. Well, you know what? I'll make a commitment, and I'll do over the weekend. If folks donate, I'll match it up to $100. And
Pat, have I mentioned I love you?
Save it for Orlando. But here's the challenge. I'll match everybody personally $1 up for $100 for this weekend. And all they got to do, and actually they don't have to do it, but if they could mention LPTV, and that would be great. So I'll put it out there, and I bet you we can get a lot of other people to do that, because that seems like a pretty worthwhile investment. And what I believe after our conversations is a winnable race. So I'm online for it. Give folks the plug again of where they can do it.
Okay. Positivelypat.org. So go to positivelypat, 2 words with no dots or anything in between it, just positivelypat.org.
All right. So folks, this is what happens. We as an organization, and it's hard because all of us are in a way are suffering right now. But when we can make strategic investments in people's campaigns, we need to be in a position to jump on that. And it's critically important that these local races, they're larger than life, because the impact that someone like Feena or someone like Pat can have on the community is exponential. And let's just go through a couple of quick examples. If someone in your community, and I'll always use the Cara Schultz as an example, folks in her community in Minnesota, because simply she is who she is, and in the manner in which she conducts herself, and in the way that she, and I always use the term loosely as a libertarian, quote unquote, governs, there are generations of people who we may never even meet, who may not become quote unquote active in the party, but will seriously consider and very often vote for a candidate that's libertarian that never would have considered before, because for the very first time, they're seeing the impact of her governance, if you will, on an intimate personal level. It's impacting their lives, their families, their homes, their home community. That's what's so important about down ballot races. We are living, breathing testaments to the libertarian philosophy and movement in a community that may never have seen it before. And in a very real sense, folks like Pat, I mean, you're a missionary, aren't you? I mean, you're preaching a word that they may not have heard before. Tell us what that's like with the first time you have a conversation, and I'm sure it's happened a lot. You may very well be the first libertarian they've ever met.
Right.
How does it usually go?
I have a funny story to tell you. Okay. I discovered the Libertarian Party in 1984, and that year it was a presidential election year. So I went to visit my grandmother, who votes always Republican, and she said, "Well, Pat, are you going to vote for the Republican for president?" And I said, "No, Grandma." So she was disappointed. She said, you're going to vote Democrat, aren't you?" "No, Grandma." She said, "Well, you really ought to vote, you know." And I said, "I will vote." "Well, how are you going to vote?" "Well, I'm going to vote for the Libertarian." She said, "Libertarian? What's that?" "Well, we believe in liberty." She said, that doesn't sound very good. That was one of the first times I ever had a conversation like that, but I've gotten better over the years how to approach it. And first, what I'd recommend to anyone is listen first.
Mm-hmm.
Don't start preaching. Listen first.
A fundamental to sales. And we are, in effect, particularly in a movement like this, we are really the first salesman some folks will ever meet, is, as Pat says, putting out there, just kind of setting the table so that folks can explain to us what their concerns are, what's important to them. Sort of like selling a car. You know, you sell a car to someone's going to be worried about horsepower. Some folks are going to be worried about safety. Some people are going to be worried about mileage. Some people are going to be worried about tow capacity. But
Right.
I'll tell you what, for those people, that issue is paramount to them, tantamount to everything that matters.
Right.
So-
So if you start without listening, you could say, well, my number one issue or what I'm going to do is this, and it may turn them off.
Right.
If you start by listening and say, what do you think? And they're going to, usually somebody will help you give an answer that is appealing.
Mm-hmm. And the beauty of being a libertarian candidate, you've run for office multiple times, is that we don't have to think about our answers per se. We don't have to wet the finger in a pre-corona environment and put it up there to get a feel for which way the wind is blowing. What's been remarked to me as a state chair is how remarkable people find it when they ask someone about an issue, how quick they are to respond, how plain speaking, if you will, for lack of a better term, their response is, because we're looking not to someone's time field tested, polled, ultimately consulted to death issue. What we're speaking from is from our heart. You take something like marriage equality. We understand that the government has no place being involved in marriage. So it's not so much a comment on gay marriage or polygamy or polyamory or any of those issues. It's fundamental that you as an adult, we trust you. We're the party that actually trusts people. That we trust you enough to make decisions that are in your best interest and at the same time will bring harm to no one else. So
Right.
when you look at that, that's all it really takes, isn't it?
Yeah. I think what you're alluding to is if you are somebody who is pandering, it's going to come across as dishonesty. And this week I was in a candidate forum with the Austin Chamber of Commerce, and that video will be up next week. So I want to share that. But in that Chamber of Commerce forum, their legislative agenda had some things that I don't agree with. And when they asked me about it, I came right out and said, you're not going to like my answer, but here's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So even I'm not going to pander to them, but to voters who want to know, can I trust this person? You're going to know you can trust somebody when they're going to say something that I know I'm not going to get their vote, but I'm going to tell you what I really think. And I'm going to be honest with you.
Right. And that I'll call that legitimacy that is possibly the single biggest characteristic, if you will, that is missing in American politics today. The fact that you will speak to an issue from your heart, from your belief system, and that reflects that's so original now. We live in a political society where very often in the news will report exactly what the Democrats or the Republicans are going to say and why they're going to say it, which usually involves some form of twisting up a message. And then when they finally say it, we know that they're saying it on purpose in a specific manner to twist us up. And a significant part of society goes, okay, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That authenticity has
Yep.
left American politics.
Yeah, I had a couple of situations on city council where I voted against a tax subsidy for a grocery store and I was lampooned. Everybody who was at the meeting howled and said I must be an idiot. The newspaper made cartoons about me.
Oh,
But I think most people, when they talk to me, they said, I respect what you did, because you did the right thing, even though it wasn't popular.
Right. I lived through a similar incident. Some guy named Kurt Schilling, if you're a baseball fan, you know him.
Oh, yeah.
Came to the state of Rhode Island and wanted $80 million to support his software company. And this was a few years back, and it really brought the Libertarian Party together. We met a lot of folks from different places and different spaces. And, you know, we said, I got up on the radio and I said, this is ridiculous. It's government money has no place in a free market society. And again, you're right. We were made sport of. Hey, a year later, the company went bankrupt. Told him so. And
he's a great pitcher, but some things he's not good at.
Well, but ultimately, and I just want to throw this out there since we're just kind of informally chatting. You've been on the show before. I will say again and again, I probably said it last time you were here, that I think the single biggest issue on a domestic basis that can be utilized by libertarians to differentiate themselves from Democrats and Republicans, amongst all the other more contentious issues, is that we are willing to fight corporate cronyism at every level. And two things happen. Number one, we get to explain on a philosophical basis why it's wrong to pick winners and losers, for folks to invade, if you will, a free market. But just as importantly, on a very practical level, anyone who's ever had the Koch brothers charge hurled at them, if you will, that we are corporatists. I will tell you, I got a real feeling that people in your community, and I know people down here in Rhode Island, will never confuse us with corporate cronyism, because we fight it at every single level. And when the Republicans and the Democrats, very often progressive Democrats, will in fact support issues like this, that is a key differentiating factor to the individual voter, very often is disgusted by the notion that taxpayer money is being used to support wealthy, very often private interests. And it's a win-win-win formula at every level. And I will offer my help, and I think Pat will too, to any municipality, any libertarian organization where they want to fight, whether it be stadiums, supermarkets, whatever, where they're larding out the money. They're always really generous and happy to see you with the big check. Did they have the big paper check? You know, when they got that big paper check and they all line up in front of the camera to give away your damn money. That is a powerful, powerful issue. And we need, as libertarians, to take that one to the streets. So listen, Pat, I'm thrilled to hear things are going so well. You know, it's give your, you know, what we always call the shameless self-promotion one more time, where folks can participate, and then we'll bring Feena on and we'll have a little Texas-Hawaii chat for a minute.
Absolutely. So just to make it short, go to positivelypat.org and see the video that we can take to all the voters in the next few days. Early voting is Monday, and the election is July 14th. So right now is the time. You right now watching this and listening to this, you can make this happen. Go to positivelypat.org, make a donation, and we have a real opportunity here.
Excellent. Dan, executive producer, super producer Dan, can you bring on Feena again? All right, so we have a this is the beauty of this American experiment. We have two distinct parts of these great United States on right now. Feena Bonoan, Pat, you guys say hi to each other. First time you're meeting. Hopefully you'll meet again. So it's interesting because we're going to try and do something similar for Feena. So it's only fair since we're helping Pat out. We're going to, in the next week or so, I'll come up with Feena with an idea as we get a little closer to the campaign. But Feena is a filmmaker out in the real world, out beyond the libertarian world. Feena, maybe talk to Pat about just the importance of imagery like this. I mean, and how it resonates with people when you can tailor individual campaigns to different groups of folks.
Well, like for instance, the website that you just posted up, that's my website, that's my homepage. And that is a picture I took on top of Mauna Kea, where a lot of protests were happening. And that picture actually was taken before the protests started happening. But that's something that people in Hawaii can resonate with. And I don't have to say anything about it. In fact, on the rest of my website, I don't say anything about Mauna Kea, because I feel like that to me is the voice of the people, and as a representative for them, that's how I show that I'm going to represent them. And it's important to reach out to people on different levels of communication, because there's people that like the written word, there's people that like just to see a video, there's some people that just like to see like visuals, like animations or whatever without sound or anything. And the more ways that we can communicate our message across more platforms and more ways that we do that, the better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead,
I
Pat.
kind of had the same idea with my website. So the Logic 14 site, I had a sunset. It doesn't look as nice as yours, but I was trying to have some appealing image.
Absolutely. And it's interesting how tying in an historical image, and I think there's a few in Texas, that resonates with individual groups based on, it triggers essentially in a positive manner an association with that particular issue. The beauty of this, by the way, this conversation is we've got two folks, two different backgrounds from two very different parts of the country. But again, it speaks to the talent pool that we here have as libertarians within our organization. I've met probably a half a dozen independent filmmakers, in addition to all the other talent pools that one would traditionally associate with the libertarian movement: lawyers, accountants, doctors. So why it's so important to reach out to the community when you're running for office, why it's so important to get candidates on and not carry the whole load yourself, all right, is because very often the talents that folks can bring to bear in supporting your movement is something so personal to them that they want nothing more than to extend it to you. And that's the importance of volunteers beyond just the obvious. Feena, we want to give you one last chance. Again, shameless self-promotion. Where can folks donate to your campaign?
Well, they can donate to my home address. They can send me a check. And if you want to know that address, it's on my website. So just check out FeenaForDistrict20.com. I should be adding a donate button soon, but I'm also the web designer, so I got to figure that one out too. So
that's outstanding. Well, folks, I want to take a moment again to thank you for joining us tonight. Again, two astonishing candidates. For all those who would seize on some of the challenges that we face as a nation and as a party at this very moment, as I say every week, when Dan and I talk about this off air, we often realize that the folks that we're having on this week, last week, 3 months ago when we started, are very often not just candidates of the present, but the candidates of the future. That, in fact, the bench of the Libertarian Party shines. It shines now and is already bringing to people around the country a libertarian philosophy, perspective, a solution set, a mindset that is not only brand new to so many different communities, but is so desperately needed. Your support of these candidates is critical. Folks, if you'd like to join us on the show, hourwiththecandidates@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on the Facebook at the LPTV website, or you can reach out to myself or Dan Fishman. We're looking for candidates. Our goal, as always, is to get every single down ballot candidate running as a libertarian in America on this show at some point before Election Day in November. So a big shout out, first of all, to the Libertarian Party for their support of this effort. Dan Fishman, executive producer, Nick Sarwak, chairman. Dick and Dan came up with this idea, and I think it's taken hold, and I think it's got some legs. Folks, thank you very much. We'll see you next Friday, 8 o'clock, an hour with the candidates.